because I want you to listen to this from Barack Obama. Okay, again, don't make this partisan, right? This is not about Democrats or Republican.
No society has ever tried to build a democracy as big and as diverse as ours before. One that includes people that over decades.
All right, guys, welcome, Ibrahim. Beautiful day. Again, this is Saving Africa Uncensored. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you share with your friends and family. Goal is to educate Africans, in the continent and Africans in the diaspora as well, so that we can all be able to come together and see how we can save the continent because it is rotten. There are a few African countries that stand out, and there's a lot that are going through a lot. So we have a responsibility to save democracies across Africa, and that is why I have this platform, Saving Democracy Uncensored. My name is Ibrahim, and this is the Ibrahim Fauna Talk Show on, Saving Africa Uncensored. Okay, so what I want to do today, I want to talk about this issue, and this is directed more so to Americans, all over the world, particularly those Americans that are in the United States that have never really experienced the world. I mean, just exploring America itself. I mean, 52 states. I mean, it's a lot, right? Or 51 states, But whatever the case is, I know a lot of Americans that have never really traveled and experienced the world they do not have a perspective. It's a perspective that some of us have, being that we grew up in, other continents and we moved to the US. So we've seen both sides of the aisle, right? And what makes America great is because America is a melting pot and of all kinds of people. Of course, that increases the tax base, and that is why America is the richest, if not the most, if not the richest country in the world. I know we have challenges now like China and Russia and all these other places, but still, America has the biggest GDP in the world. So it's the greatest country. America is awesome, It's going to take a lot for any other country to surpass America. One, because of the homogeneity in language, right? We speak English. Everybody speaks English. As opposed to countries like China, it's not going to be easy because you got to learn, Mandarin, and whatever the case is. You go to Russia, you got to learn Russian. So America is a powerful country. And that's why it bothers me and it hurts me to see, you know, um, what is currently happening in America with the decline in political democratic space, because I don't want to say political, but democratic space. The freedoms are still there because everybody can express themselves, express how they feel, but we see what's actually happening. But I want to focus on one area. I don't want to talk about everything. I just want to call the attention of the American citizens, to understand that America has so much power that when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches cold. So there's something actually happening right now because America has not been paying attention to Africa. And so, what I want to do, first of all, let me share my LinkedIn profile with you guys, and I wanted you to see this. These were publications that I shared, um, on my LinkedIn page, and I had this article that I wrote. All right. And I said the recent statement from the U.S. Department of State doesn't just undermine democracy. It feels like it's final. It's heartbreaking surrender. But staying silent and not commenting on future elections, particularly in Africa, except where the US has an interest, has given dictators and authoritarians, especially in Africa, free rein to crush the voices of their people. And that is what is happening. So, why am I saying this? And this is one of two articles, right, that I shared on this, with you all. So this was on ABC News. Trump administration tells embassies to rein in criticism of foreign elections, right, in Africa. And there's this other article by, WSJ, Washington, where they talked about U.S. to curtail practice of assessing fairness of foreign elections. So both of these, when I saw this article, I was really disappointed because it's a big blow to people like myself and Africans, the vulnerable population that rely on the voice of America. We don't want America to be the police. And I think former President Barack Obama made that point very succinctly. And what I want to do is, please, I don't want us to make this political. If you're an American, I don't want to make this Republican or Democrat, right? I'm just citing sources and examples so you can see exactly what I'm getting at. Because don't forget, my point in this is doing this live, doing this video right now, is to ensure that I inform Americans of how important America is and how powerful America is and how people across the world are looking up to America. We're not asking for everything, but all we're saying is give us some form of protection, right? America's democracy has been, over 230 plus years. In most African countries, we had independence probably 60, 70 years ago, right? Within that range, right? 1960s was when we saw the rise of, yeah, the colonialists handing over, independence and all of that across Africa. So we've been working 60 years of not making any progress in our democracies. It's a shame. Compare a 60-year-old man still not being able to figure out life. That's you would say that man is not sober. That man is not serious. So that is where we're at, and that is why I'm asking Americans to hear me out. Don't make this Democrat or Republican. I just want you to think of America as the greatest country on earth. All right, and how America, actually shapes democracy globally. And if America does not take democracy seriously, the rest of the world collapse. And it's very expensive for America, which is why I want to talk about these so you guys would understand exactly what it is. Because when there is instability across the world, it affects America in a way. We live in a global village, in terms of everything. We know what happens down south, South America. There's chaos there as it is. It affects America. Everybody wants to come to America. That's why you have a high migration rate. Because I tell you this, a lot of African Americans or a lot of African people, if only they have everything they need, the basics of life, I guarantee you, they would not come here. They want to come here. You think I want to stay in the United States? If I had the opportunity to go back home today and live a productive life, I would. And I'm from Sierra Leone, by the way. But you go there, it's either you're part of the political class, you become corrupt, and that is not what we are looking for. People like myself, we just want every Sierra Leonean to be able to have access to the basics of life. Give us electricity, right? Give us pipe-borne drinking water. Give us proper sanitation. It's the government's responsibility. That is why I want you to hear me out. And like I said, Barack Obama said this succinctly, and I want to play this video so that you guys can listen to this because I want you to listen to this from Barack Obama. Okay, again, don't make this partisan, right? This is not about Democrat or Republican.
No society has ever tried to build a democracy as big and as diverse as ours before. One that includes people that over decades have come from every corner of the globe. One where our allegiances and our community are defined not by race or blood, but by a common creed. And that's why when we uphold our values, the world's a little brighter. When we don't, the world's a little dimmer. And dictators and autocrats feel emboldened. And over time, we become less safe. We shouldn't be the world's policemen, and we can't eradicate every cruelty and injustice in the world. But America can be and must be a force for good. Discouraging conflict, fighting disease, promoting human rights, protecting the planet from climate change, defending freedom, brokering peace. That's what Kamala Harris believes, and so do most Americans.
Awesome, guys. So that is what I want to share with you. And I wanted you to hear that. Again, don't make this about if you're an American watching this and you've seen Obama, oh, I know you have this, oh, it's Obama, I don't like Obamacare. That's not what I'm focused on here. I want you to know how great America is. And that is why I'm using this example, because of what Barack Obama said. America is a lot more safer, if we just uphold democratic principles and ensure that what's happening in Africa right now, giving the rise of dictators across Africa. And I want you guys to see this because I don't want you guys to think we're making stuff up, right? I want you guys to understand where we're going with this so we can all be on the same page. So I want you to see this. Let's listen to this guy and see what's happening across Africa. All right.
In Africa, only 8 of the 54 countries are considered fully free. Authoritarian regimes now govern over 70% of the continent's population. This isn't theoretical, it's happening everywhere. and now including the US. Military in civilian spaces, executive outreach sounds familiar, courts bypassed sounds familiar, journalists targeted sounds familiar, protesters criminalized. Does that sound familiar to you as well? You're living in Africa, guys. If we let it slide once, it slides forever, man. In Africa, only 8 of the 50
So what this guy is
regimes now
actually
govern over
pointing out
70% of the
is that only eight of the 53 plus countries in Africa are actually free. And you look at majority of what is actually happening across the continent of Africa, you would see that there's a lot of instability across Africa. Look at what is happening in Ivory Coast right now. 2 months from now, there's going to be elections in Ivory Coast, and the current president of Ivory Coast has banned all the opposition, and it's like is going to be contesting against himself. And of course, these guys are puppets of the world of the West because we begin to see that it's all about what these Western nations are getting from these leaders. Because if they're getting what they want from them, then they stay in power. They can stay in power for as long as they want, no questions asked. And we are saying America should not be the policeman of the world, but at least when you look at what's when President Joe Biden was in power, and this is real life, I'm giving you guys real time, analysis here, because in 2021, when President Joe Biden, 2020, when he came to power, right? I hope I'm getting it right. Yes, President Trump, 2024. So 2020, when President Joe Biden came to power, um, we had the Democracy Summit. And in Democracy Summit, he invited, a lot of African countries. And Sierra Leone's president was not invited at the time, Julius Maada Bio, because, of course, of all the atrocities, the killings, and everything that was done. However, the mayor of Freetown was invited to the Democracy Summit back in 2020, December. So I'm saying this and I'm pointing these things out because it's very important. Let's take a look at what President Joe Biden, said in the opening of the Democracy Summit. Because again, Americans, I want you guys to open up your minds and understand that America is a great nation, and therefore the world needs America. And at least to innovate, not in everything, but to help us strengthen our democracies. And if America fails to do that, Africa is going to continue to go down. There's going to be more wars. Yes, over Western nations benefit when there are wars in African countries because they go and get all the resources. But I know America is a great country, and America is not the kind of country that wants to just go and take resources from it. People, you know what I mean, right? Because again, we see how China operates, we see how Russia operates, but America is a shining example of a nation that does not want to go and, just take the resources from countries, allow these countries to, degenerate and deteriorate in terms of their political landscape, only because they want to go in and take their natural resources. So I know America is not that country. I can say that. But let's listen to the Democracy Summit in 2020 because I'm painting a picture here for the US government. At the State Department level, White House, the Senate, everybody, American citizens, that are watching this, that will watch this. I want you guys to understand that America is a great country and we should not let America's role that it's playing to strengthen democracies across the world elapse. Yes, America is going through its own challenge right now defending democracy. We see the Democrats, breaking quorum in Texas, going to Illinois, Chicago, and all of that. It's a lot of stuff going on. But I'm telling you, all of the stuff that is happening is going to come back eventually and affect America because what's happening is the dictators in Africa, they're beginning to see that America does not care. So they're becoming emboldened. And I can attest to this. I saw it in real time. When President Trump was in power 2016, when he took over 2016 to 2020, when America at that point really did not, within that 4 year period, like for example in Sierra Leone, and this was why we had elections recently in Sierra Leone, and we don't have the disaggregated data up until this point. So we basically conducted an elections that does not have a result. There is no results for the elections, the June 24th, 2023 elections recently. The June 2018 elections was fine. Because remember, President Trump came to power in 2016, and then Marabio in Sierra Leone had elections in 2018 and they came to power. So for those first 2 years that President Trump was in power, there was a lot of havoc that President Bio, Julius Maada Bio in Sierra Leone caused. And I'm talking about assassinations, killings, right? Between that 18 to 2020. and up into 2021, 2022, even after President Biden took over power. But because America kind of elapsed in its role when President Trump was in power between 2016 up until 2018, when Sierra Leone had its elections, it affected Sierra Leone's democracy because Mada Bio felt emboldened. And this is all records. If you look at the State Department's website, it's clear. It is there. When you look at the human rights reports every year that is given, about state of affairs in African nations, and when you look at Sierra Leone, they cover, the justice system. You look at the prisons. How prisoners are treated, the overcrowded prisons, the state of democracy. It is there. You will read the report and you can see how devastating it is. And this is coming from the State Department, which we love and we appreciate that. However, there's more work needs to be done to make sure that they hold these governments accountable, right? But again, does America want to become the world policeman? No, America does not want to be the police officer for the world. So I get it. I understand there's this line that we got to play. But America has taken a role in the past where they were upfront and let these leaders know now we're not falling for this because we want to have a stable environment. So we saw the destruction of democracy in Sierra Leone, the erosion of our institutions, tribalism, nepotism across the country. You know, the Auditors General was the last office that was standing, that was destroyed. Ms. Lara Taylor Pierce was eviscerated from the system unlawfully, because she was reporting about the corruption of the office of the president when Mara Bio's office was caught double dipping, forging, money laundering, all of those kinds of things. The Pademba Road Prisons massacre, the massacre at McKinney, because the people rejected, objected to the government taking a generator that serves as a backup generator to give them electricity, right? The people objected to that. They were massacred and killed. We saw all of that. Mile 91, the Tombo. We saw during the pandemic, mosques were shut down, but yet nightclubs and bars, nightclubs and bars were open and stuff like that. So the Julius Matabele was just let loose. And I'm speaking about Sierra Leone, right? And this happened across other countries as well, but I'm more familiar with what's happening in Sierra Leone because I know and I've studied the trend and I've seen how democracy declined between 2018 up until today in Sierra Leone. And it's because America has played a passive role. Even when President Joe Biden was in power, because the elections of June 24th, 2023 was actually stolen during President Joe Biden's presidency. And American ambassador in Sierra Leone, I mean, these guys practically did not do anything, even though they knew there were no results for the elections. So this stems from President Joe Biden all the way through. Even though Biden was making more efforts, to see how America can intervene, to protect democracy. But we saw how you can only intervene so much because again America is not the world's policeman, right? It's not going to police everybody's democracy. But we saw how these guys kind of bum rush, like the Julius Matabele regime kind of bum rush their way through, not even listening to what the international community have to say, right? They did what they wanted to do because they know that America is not going to send troops to Sierra Leone to say, okay, Julius Matabele, you rigged the elections, therefore we're going to kick you out, right? So they know these things, right? But let me play the Democracy Summit for you guys because I want you guys to see what I'm saying in 2021 to refresh your memory and listen to what President Joe Biden said about democracy. And this was him recognizing the fact that, democracy kind of really took a nosedive, between the 2016 to the 2020 elections when he became president. Let's listen to this together.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden Jr., accompanied by the United States Secretary of State, Antony Blinken.
Yeah, let's listen to them together, okay? I want you guys to listen to this. I value democracy. I respect democracy. And I know democracy is going to work for us, and we have to protect democracy.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Summit for Democracy. This gathering has been on my mind for a long time for a simple reason. In the face of sustained and alarming challenges to democracy, universal human rights, and all around the world, democracy needs champions. And I wanted to host this summit because here in the United States, we know as well as anyone that renewing our democracy and strengthening our democratic institutions requires constant effort. American democracy is an ongoing struggle to live up to our highest ideals and to heal our divisions, to recommit ourselves to the founding idea of our nation, captured in our Declaration of Independence, not unlike many of your documents. We say, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all women and men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Democracy doesn't happen by accident. We have to renew it with each generation. And this is an urgent matter on all our parts, in my view. Because the data we're seeing is largely pointing in the wrong direction. Freedom House reports in 2020 that marked the 15th consecutive year of global freedom in retreat. Another recent report from the International Institute of Democracy and Electoral Assistance noted more than half of all democracies have experienced a decline in at least one aspect of their democracy over the last 10 years, including the United States. And these trends are being exacerbated by global challenges that are more complex than ever and which require shared efforts to address these concerns. By outside pressure from autocrats, they seek to advance their own power, export and expand their influence around the world, and justify the repressive policies and practices as a more efficient way to address today's challenges. That's how it's sold. By voices that seek to fan the flames of social division and political polarization. And perhaps most importantly, and most worrying of all, by increasing the dissatisfaction of people all around the world with democratic governments that they feel are failing to deliver for their needs. In my view, this is the defining challenge of our time. Democracy, government of the people, by the people, for the people, can at times be fragile, but it also is inherently resilient. It's capable of self-correction and it's capable of self-improvement. And yes, democracy is hard. We all know that. It works best with consensus and cooperation. When people and parties that might have opposing views sit down and find ways to work together, things begin to work. But it's the best way to unleash human potential and defend human dignity and solve big problems. And it's up to us to prove that. Democracies are not all the same. We don't agree on everything, all of us in this meeting today. But the choices we make together are going to define, in my view, the course of our shared future for generations to come. And as a global community for democracy, we have to stand up for the values that unite us. We have to stand for justice and the rule of law, for free speech, free assembly, a free press, freedom of religion, and for all the inherent human rights of every individual. My late friend, Congressman John Lewis, was a great champion of American democracy and for civil rights around the world, learning from and gaining inspiration from other great leaders like Gandhi and Mandela. With his final words, as he was dying, to our nation last year, he reminded our country, quote, "Democracy is not a state, it's an act. Democracy is not a state, it is an act." So over the next 2 days, we're bringing together leaders from more than 100 governments alongside activists, trade unionists, and other members of civil society, leading experts and researchers and representatives from the business community, not to assert that any one of our democracies is perfect
Right.
or has all the answers,
Right.
but to lock arms and reaffirm our shared commitment to make our democracies better, to share ideas and learn from each other, and to make concrete commitments of how to strengthen our own democracies and push back on authoritarianism, fight corruption, promote and protect human rights of people everywhere, to act. This summit is a kickoff of a year in action for all of our countries to follow through on our commitments and report back next year on the progress we've made. And as we do this, the United States is going to lead by example, investing in our own democracy, supporting our partners around the world at the same time. From the earliest days of my administration, we pursued a broad-based agenda to prove that American democracy can still do big things and take on challenges that matter most. That's why we immediately passed what we call the American Rescue Plan to get shots in people's arms as fast as possible at home and around the world to help get this pandemic under control and to stimulate inclusive.
So again, by the way, this was during the pandemic and everything, but you've heard, so this is what I want to share with my brothers, so that we all understand, where we're coming from. And democracy in Africa is dying, and civil society organizations are being bought. Right now, what is happening in most African countries is opposition being poached. So it is either through violence, like my brother, a guy who does powerful WhatsApp messages, Hotmail would say, radical inclusion. They beat them to submission. So opposition political parties are either being beaten down to submission and, to succumb to the whims and desires of, these corrupt, you know, governments in power. They use the military in them. They concoct all kinds of stories, to go against them. And if that doesn't work, they try to, bribe them with money. So, like in Sierra Leone, there is no opposition at this point, because excuse me, because the opposition, I mean, they in bed with the ruling government at this point, and whatever these current president, as illegal as he is, whatever he wants goes, and nobody can stop him. Right now in Sierra Leone, they're talking about using the proportional representation system instead of using the constituency-based elections, which gives power to the people, because then the people can actually elect the leaders to represent them at the local levels all the way through to parliament. They try to take away all of these powers from the people because, again, they don't believe in the rights of the people. Why? Because America has not taken the position that it should take. When people like myself, we complain, we write letters, we do these lives, I know my platform is seen at the highest levels within the United States government, and I get that and I understand that, but not much action is taken. I don't know if it's because maybe I'm not registered as a civil society organization, which I cannot do by virtue of my position currently in the United States. But however, I'm a democracy watcher. I'm a watchdog for democracy, and I'm doing my own little bit as a citizen, of Sierra Leone, born there, to be able to advocate, use my platform to speak up for the voiceless, the people back there that are in the villages and small towns that are suffering massively from the cruelty of these political leaders. So, that is the situation that we find ourselves. And that is why people like myself, we're coming out here to talk about, our experiences and share with, the United States government at the States Department level, so that they understand that there is, a massive erosion of the fundamental rights of the people. You're talking about civil liberties, you talk about political rights, you talk about democratic rights. It's all gone. Like in Sierra Leone, if you don't play by their tune, you get murdered, you get killed, you get thrown out into exile. So today, even like myself, I cannot even go back home because I know they would have something to concoct against me. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not homesick or nothing. It's not like I'm missing anything there. What is there to miss, right? But it's my beautiful country. I love my country. I would love to see more. I always tell my wife, I'm like, I wish, we could have a second home in Sierra Leone where we could just jump on a plane maybe every 2 or 3 months, and we don't even have to pack a suitcase because we have everything. And when we get there, the airport is awesome. Everything is good. Electricity, water, we don't have to worry about anything. Hospitals and medical care is superb. That is all we want. We don't want much. We don't even want to, myself, I don't even want to participate in politics if everything is going good. That is what is happening in a lot of countries like the Scandinavians, People don't really care about what politicians do because the system is working for everybody. They say they pay high taxes, but yes, they see the results of the high taxes. They're sick, they go to the hospital, they get taken care of. The kids are going to school. It's paid for. University paid for. Clean communities. Sanitation is awesome. Clean drinking water. So you don't have nothing to complain. What's the point, right? That is where we want to get to. And that is why people like myself are standing up in the middle, for the voiceless to say, hey, we have to protect democracy. We have to defend democracy. And we have a responsibility to ensure, that we stand up, and speak up. when democracy is not working the way it should. And, I want to share a video with you all from Julius Maada Bio back in the day. I think it's important for us to uh, have an idea because it's sad when people that were acting sort of like pan-Africanist or they believed in democracy when they were outside trying to come in. It's a thing with Africans, right? Hypocrisy, very, very hypocrite people, and human beings as a whole, right? Because they're not in, and which is something I'm watching. Make sure. Because when they're not in, oh, they want to come in. It's like the fox calling the grapes sour, right? The fox is saying the grapes is sour, but that's because they're not in there. But once they get in there, oh, that grape becomes sweet. Let's watch this video from Julius Maravilla back in the day, and see what's happening now, so you can have an idea of what I'm talking about. Let's watch this.
For the sake of peace, if we have a rigged election, I will not accept it for the same sake of peace.
So
because
does it
rigged
mean
elections leads to war.
So that means, so are you saying that, people will go on the street or go out on the streets?
That is for you to tell. I'm not going to tell anybody to go on the street, but they have the right to protect their votes. We will resist anything that is violent. We will resist any attempt by NEC to lead a process that is not going to be clean. I will tell you for sure that we are going to remain as peaceful as we can. We are going to take part in the process. We will just not accept a real.
But going back to your earlier statement, so are you then saying that we should anticipate Sierra Leone going back to war if you do not win?
Are you anticipating that they are going to rig an election? Or are you encouraging them to do that?
Based on the statements, because we are looking at a situation where political tension is right, and for the sake of peace. We would not want to see issues
if they rig
arising.
if they rig this election without me saying anything, this country is going to.
But what are appropriate measures to take? Because the point here is a lot of people are
Sierra Leoneans take notes.
Okay.
Clean election. Let everybody see that the process.
DA is ready to send our country back to another war.
Accept it. That is all. That is the only prescription.
Like they did in the past.
Election. Let's be involved in the
fellow Sierra Leoneans, take notes.
Be violent on election day. Let there be no manipulation of the commission. Let's give them the independence that they deserve. So the only prescription is a clean election.
Awesome. That is Julius Maravilla, and I'm telling you guys, like, what he was saying was not wrong. It's a fact. It was doing what it was supposed to do to protect democracy. So that is very crucial. But then fast forward, where is this man today? You see what I'm saying? Julius Maravilla was not wrong for saying everything he was saying. No. We have to protect democracy. Elections have to be free and fair. But today in Sierra Leone, the same Julius Maravilla is now in power unconstitutionally, and there is no results for the elections. And what did they do? Violently attacked opposition, beat them up, wound them, because they're not for them. Watch this video.
Of course, me na the district leader for the All People's Congress in Kailan district. These are the attack where they attack the district chairman inside the SI Jajua. They go meet this man, they chop at the office, they broke his hand. People then come, when the honorable send them, they get soldier uniform. After they don't call the man back, the police they hold him back, they put him in a cell. Pastor don't come, we don't see him, and they will make, they don't pull him. You see him? They chop at all sides, broke his hand. Me they talk, me are the district leader for the All People's Congress in Kailan district. So these are the present situation where they happen at Kailan, it's Shebima. After I don't chop this man, they count him back, they talk there, let's say if he talk there, they hold him, they count and the police they put on a cell. So pastor don't come, they don't come pull me the district chairman. So I want to let the party Iron Kid know, let the international community know. Because now these are they do, they say they will kill anybody where they Kailan district, where they support APC. They say that so Mada Bio tell them and the district chairman with the honorable they get Shebima. So I want to let the international committee know, that center for men they know say that these are up president in Ashegwima. After they don't beat the man, they damage and they count him back, they hand over to the police they put him in a cell. Me they talk me like district youth leader for the All People's Congress.
All right. So this is the state of democracy in Sierra Leone. And it's, guys, it's a shame. Because the thing is this, right? We are human beings. And you would ask yourself, let me tell you something. If I'm a president of Sierra Leone, we would have the most free and fair elections anyone has ever seen. And I'm not making this up because, first of all, we have to have proper voter education, right? So our people don't have invalid votes. That's for sure. But I guarantee you, we would ensure, and this is something that you can achieve with rigidity, but for the right reasons. You can be very rigid with the laws, but for the right reasons. Like every polling station in Sierra Leone, if I'm a president in that country, we're going to ensure that every vote is counted properly and tabulated. We would see every vote, and we would ensure that every citizen of that country is registered properly and they would vote accordingly. Why should we have to be beating ourselves up? Why should we treat ourselves like animals? Why don't we treat ourselves like human beings in elections? You see, because this is the thing, and this is why it goes back to Section 13B of the Constitution. You know, Section 14B. And it talks about the fact that every citizen shall cultivate a sense of nationalism and patriotism, so that your loyalty should lie to the state and not to your political parties, not to your leaders, or this and that. Let me show you some of the videos that we saw. Leading up to the election.
Make Lena see the cutlass. I don't see everything. Why this man? The only cutlass because of every man there is saying SLPP. You know what? See any red now. The only cutlass for Chap people.
So this is what has been the case of Sierra Leone: violence, thuggery throughout elections, right? No freedom for our people to participate freely. Why? Because, the politicians themselves don't really care. They don't want a state where the people are living amicably, amongst each other. And democracy is dying in Africa. Election was rigged. There are no results. Huh? Violent video after violent video. We have all of those. All of these people for nothing. Look at this.
I don't damage. But so don't hide her right now. No, you talk no more. You go to talk for her. Say now we don't hide her right now, sir. You deal to ya.
Kala will die, leader.
Die.
Samura.
Do
Samura will die.
Do ya.
Samura will die. Samura chap me. Samura will die.
Make a
Will die for you,
Samura.
VP.
Let him send her quick.
VP Asubana. Jolo. I mean this.
Jolo na this right now they inside room now we have no hide and they right now see face blood they waste more. Don't try to no medical. Right now that's what they after right now.
Samura they die.
Take that away. Take this away.
Hey, Samura will die for you.
What a sad state of affairs. This is in Kailaun, the south of Sierra Leone, southeast. And these are APC supporters getting mutilated leading up to the elections. Kailaun. Why? Because these thugs don't want nobody else to support any political party. This has been going on for years in the southeastern part of Sierra Leone. Kenema, Kailaun, Bo, Pujeon, all of these places. Killing people for elections. It doesn't matter if it's a by-election or a national election. This is what has been happening. And the world sees this stuff. And then you see the opposition, they're there. They won the elections. They say, we don't want this election. We are going to move on to the next one. That is how terrible things are. Democracies are dying. And that is why I want to share these things with you so we can all come together as African people and say enough is enough. This is a fact. This is the reality of what is actually happening. Democracies are being captured across the world. Watch this video.
And resulting in a number. We all agree that democracy is designed to serve a broad interest, right? All citizens, irrespective of their social, economic, or other kinds of standing within society. So when you think of democracy capture as resulting in a number of actors appropriating for themselves these key institutions to serve narrow and personal interest, then for us it becomes a danger to the entire democratic process. One of the things that I worry about is that should democracy capture intensify, and if perpetrators continue to be successful, then what becomes of citizens' faith and confidence in the democratic process? Civil society, the role of academia, the role of citizen groups that mobilize around these issues of capture would become very important in helping to build resilience and push back against capture. We do note that perpetrators of capture may not necessarily think they are destroying democracy. They may think that they are trying to seize a particular process to advance a particular interest. But what we need to impress upon them is that the ultimate effect is corrosive for democracy and the viability of democratic institutions. Ultimately, when the democracy gets captured and serves only narrow interests, then it's the people who suffer. I mean, as our initial findings are showing, if you look at the key perpetrators of democracy capture, and if you look at why they are trying to capture the democracy, then ultimately it's the people who end up suffering.
Absolutely.
We
Absolutely,
all
guys.
agree that
This is the reality of what we're dealing with. You know, this guy said it very well. There's going to be voter apathy. Like in Sierra Leone today, there's voter apathy because the people don't trust the system anymore, which is why I'm calling on the United States people and on the United States government to understand that when you make decisions like these, and I'm going to go back to sharing this post, and it's on my LinkedIn page, by the way, guys. It's on my LinkedIn profile. This is a post that I care about very deeply right here. Trump administration tells embassies to rein in criticism of foreign elections. Democracy is dead, basically. It's the end of democracy. And what's going to happen eventually, like in the case of Sierra Leone, we had a brutal rebel war. And what is to say that somebody else is not going to come back and say, you know what? I'm not going to take this. I have to defend and protect democracy. And then, broke out and start another war again. We see the rise of coups across Africa. I mean, now we have the Sahel, a whole region, 3 countries have all broken away because they say democracy doesn't work. I mean, it can happen in Sierra Leone. It can happen in any other country where we have dictators right now. Look at Museveni in Uganda. Look at Paul Biya in Cameroon. These people have been in power for over 40 years. Look at what is happening in Equatorial Guinea. Look at what is happening in Togo. All of these folks are dictators. They are serving the purpose of the West, so they keep them there. As long as the West continues to plunder the resources of those countries. So eventually it boils back to us as Africans, African people. We have a responsibility to step up. Unfortunately, we have organizations like the International Criminal Court, but they're not doing their job. And that was why it bothered me when I saw Mr. Karim Khan. Of course, I'm not saying Netanyahu does not deserve, to be prosecuted. or, Putin, but why stretch to people like those that you would not be able to get a hold of? And you're leaving the ones in front of you in Africa that you can get a hold of any day. How many complaints have been filed at the International Criminal Court against Julius Maada Bio? Tons of complaints. Killings, massive killings. These are crimes of aggression, crimes against humanity. It should be protected. We've seen meetings with the prosecutor, Mr. Karim Khan, and Julius Maada Bio, and those were very somber moments. We saw those photos. You could tell that this was a serious conversation. But yet still, nothing is done. And the ICC can arrest Julius Maada Bio any day if they want. They did this for Kenya when this President Ruto, where and I think it was the what's the name of this other guy? Um, he's been contesting elections forever in Kenya. It starts with a R. His name starts with an R. When Ruto, when they had this clash in Kenya, the ICC called them. And I'll let you listen to that because I don't want you to think I'm making up. I want you to listen to this. And the charges were terminated, but listen
task
to it.
now to get the ICC to, as they face that daunting task now to get the ICC to terminate the charges they face. Now, the two, through their legal defense teams, have submitted a 95-page document arguing that they were wrongly accused of these crimes. Well, our correspondent, Jack Parrock, is at The Hague. We chat to him now on the line. Jack, are you there now?
I'm here. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, Jack. Thank you. It's really a make-or-break session for Ruto and Sung. We understand it will be a 4-day process with oral hearings that start today. What's the progress on that, Jack?
Indeed. So we've begun to hear from the prosecution about what they think it should happen in this case, and they're obviously saying that the case shouldn't be dropped. They insist that they have got enough evidence. And we'll hear a number of submissions orally within the courtroom over the next few days ahead of what's known as a status conference in the case on Friday, when judges will decide whether this no case to be heard against these two men, whether that motion can be passed. So there's a lot to go before we find out whether it will be dropped, but we're underway in hearing the submissions now.
So, Jack, we understand that there are 3 charges: murder, forcible transfer of populations, and the persecution in the Rift Valley during that post-election violence in 2007. So the trial chamber will have to determine if the motion of no case to answer for every of the 3 charges each of the accused persons is facing, or will a partial rejection of the motion mean that Ruto and Sung have a case to answer and must be put through a defense?
So indeed, so this can be split into 3 separate things. And at the moment, it looks like that it will go all one way.
So I want to share that with you. This President Ruto now, who's the president today, in Kenya, 9 years ago, it was summoned by the ICC, even though they dropped the charges and everything, but it was summoned by the ICC. And so I look at the ICC prosecutor, Mr. Karim Khan, and I'm like, I wonder why he has not pressed charges at all. I just can't fathom or understand exactly why. I mean, what is a reasonable, reason as to why, we haven't seen, charges against Julius Maada Bio? At least summon the man to the ICC. Let's have an investigation. Let's open up the conversation, right? That is all we're asking for with every killing that has gone on. But yet, Mr. Karim Khan left people like Julius Maada Bio that he could prosecute very easily and went for Bibi Netanyahu and Putin. And now, of course, the US government, Donald Trump, retaliated against him for that, and he's out of office. And also, there is this bogus charge of whatever is going on that some lady said he had. But, we all know it's being, just being preposterous, at this point, those charges against him, right? But these are some of the things we were saying. Like, why wouldn't you prosecute Julius Maada Bio, where the evidences are abound for the crimes that he had committed, against people, and yet You leftless man, and you're chasing people like Netanyahu that you would not be able to capture forever. That is the question that I have. I just can't fathom in my mind, like, what was he thinking? You know? But we've seen pictures of you know Marabio and Karim Khan, having these meetings, and you could tell that it was a very tense environment. But what the hell is going on? When is the prosecution going to happen? I mean, today we have Boleos, the most wanted drug lord in Sierra Leone, and the international community. Everybody's sitting there acting like they don't even know what's going on. And yet they call it a democracy. We've seen reports, we've seen pictures. Look at this. This was Boleos, the most wanted drug dealer in Sierra Leone, in church with the president's daughter right there. Look at the president. The man is safe in Sierra Leone. The Netherlands government, they've not done anything. This is a poster that I put out to at least get the attention of the world. To say, look at what is happening here. This is Agnes Bio. She is seeing Boleos. Boleos is with the first family. We saw, I mean, it's a shame. The African Confidential, Joseph Skridlik and others, they put out this publication, scathing publication about the drugs, Boleos' activity, Jos Leidekes. It is in Sierra Leone. What the hell is going on in the world, man? These are some of the things we're trying to figure out, like what's happening here. But like I said, we've seen, pictures of Karim Khan and Julius Marabio, and these were very tense environments. But up to this day, we don't know what's going on. And here we have Julius Marabio during the days when he was trying to campaign. Listen to
If they sing for the APC or the innocent have been the one where they sing against embassy. If they sing for the APC all the time, million entrance where go in any shelter, a lot of people can go in. A lot of people they support that side, and it will create problem. So we stay at the back and try to make sure say people they see the reason. I am not flag bearer. The flag bearer election they can just do. But now more concentrate on criticizing the APC. Some people, and I tell they say they are not SL people. They criticize Madakio, and the APC will all for being targets. Nobody will talk about that. Some people never. So that is the challenge we have, and we need as a party, I don't care if the Gambia is any side in the world, to give your support, make your own contribution, speak out, not be a silent witness to what will happen, because what will happen will be end up with a 1992 situation that because Salomon they will keep quiet. Because what will happen will be end up with a 1992 situation, silent witness to what will happen. Because what will happen will be end up with a 1992 situation that because Salomon they will keep quiet. The APC don't take moves, speak out, not be a silent witness to what will happen. Because what will happen will be end up with a 1992 situation that because Salomon they will keep quiet. The aid contribution, speak out, or give your support, make your own contribution, speak out, not be a silent witness to what will happen. Because what will happen will be end up with a 1992 situation that because Salomon they will keep quiet. The APC don't take moves towards an eventual one-party system. They're not going to legislate them, they're not going to announce them.
All right, guys. So this is Julius Maravio. Two important things that he said in this video, and this was back, leading up to the 2018 elections when he was not president, right? Two things that he said there, but now he's the dictator today in our time, right? Rigging elections, no results for the elections, still in power, killing our people, all of that, right? Two things that he said. Don't be silent. Make your own contribution. Speak up. Because what happened in 1992, when we had the 1992 situation, so because he's so ashamed to say that, the coup, the 1992 coup that he was a part of, he's so ashamed to just say it, but he say, but what led to the 1992 situation, instead of saying the 1992 coup, because he was a part of the coup, right? We all know that. And the coup within the coup, he overthrew Strasser because, of course, he did not want elections to proceed. He wanted to hang on to power a little bit more, you know. So we know that. That's one part of what he said. And then the second part is at the end of the video. And I want you all to listen because sometimes we listen, we don't hear. Listen to this part. That's it right there. They're making move towards a one-party state. Oh, shucks, I didn't put the video on the screen. This is it right
with
here.
a 1992 situation that because Salomon they will keep quiet. The APC don't they take moves towards situation that because Salomon they will keep quiet. The APC don't they take moves towards an eventual one-party system. They're not going to legislate them. They're not going to announce them. You know, saying that.
That is it right there. So that was the second thing that he said. That APC is moving towards a one-party state system. We all know that was a lie. I mean, you can say whatever you want to say about President Kuruma now, because of course he's one of the most useless ex-presidents we've ever had. You can say whatever you want to say about him. But the fact of the matter is, it was not pushing for a one-party state system. But if you listen to the SLPP now, what do you hear? What do you hear them saying? Power sharing, right? Proportional representation. These are all the moves they are making. They are actually trying to legislate so that we can have a one-party state system.